First thing we're going to start off with is this is a 7.1 production. It debuted in the cinema as 7.1. You created this with the tools to make a 7.1 soundtrack. Were there any differences in the 7.1 for the cinema versus the 7.1 mix in the Blu-ray? And if so, what were they?
Well, so typically it's very common that a DVD or a Blu-ray release will get what's called a near-field mix. So what we do is we take our print master of the theatrical that goes into a smaller room, or even in the big dub stage, we'll bring in near-field monitors and set them around the sweet spot, and then do a little bit of adjusting. So what a mixer might typically do in a near-field mix is, put on a limiter on the ceiling so nothing gets out, above -18 dBFS. So a little less dynamic sometimes, might bring up dialogue a little bit, might bring up atmospheres a little bit, just so in the home, in a person's home theater, they're not, setting a low level and then they can't hear dialogue and they turn it up again, because typically people don't play on their home systems at reference level. Right. It's usually down a little bit, and their amps might be set for television, which broadcasts a way louder signal than what we do. So
the dynamic range is compressed.
So that's usually what happens. For this movie, that didn't happen. What you heard is actually the theatrical mix. So the 8-track from the Howard Hawks stage at 20th Century Fox went straight into the Blu-ray and was encoded without any sort of mix tweaks. So what that means is, for a person who has a great home theater and is able to play back 7.1, they will get the full dynamic range of the film.
So in terms of the gain levels for the surrounds, they stay the same?
Yes.
You don't modify those at all?
No, there were no adjustment, and I double-checked that just to make sure that nothing was done during mastering like that, and that's the case.
Interesting. So you've worked with 5.1 before.
Yes.
Superman Returns is one of my favorite soundtracks that you do, especially the beginning scene where they're in the prairie and the house starts rattling and spaceship. Absolutely phenomenal.
We've got lots of rattle recordings from that.
That was 5.1, and now you've got a new palette to play with 7.1. How do you approach 7.1, and what are your thoughts about working with 7.1 and having those back surrounds available to you in the future?
Well, 7.1 is a magnificent new tool for us to use in sound. 5.1 was wonderful. It's been around for a while, and actually one of my teachers, Tom Holman, was very involved with 5.1, creation of that. But the great thing about 7.1 is those discrete rears. On a movie like Superman Returns, for example, we have a lot of, Superman flies right past us. Right. Well, in a 5.1 mix, what you'll do is you'll put his flying sound up front, maybe it'll be center speaker with a little bit of spread, and then you'll pan it into one of the, left surround or the right surround. If you want it right behind you, we're going to stick it in both speakers, so it gives kind of an image that might trick the brain into thinking it's right behind you, but it's not really. And with 7.1, we have these 2 extra discrete rear channels, so we can actually do a Z-axis right past, where before it would feel more like kind of over your shoulder or a little washy, a little wide. Now we can actually pinpoint stuff back there. So on that level, it's a big creative tool.
And I noticed on the movie there were call-outs from the crowd that literally came from directly behind us.
Yeah.
Which
I love you, Metro Man.
Yeah, exactly. That was so cool. But you can also, you can go diagonally now, and you can go from front to back. Lots of things you can do in the rear channels in terms of your effects. Exactly. Interesting.